This is a tutorial of the Lesson Plan tool on California Educators Together. Begin by opening your lesson plan shell. This can be found on your dashboard by navigating to the bottom under My Instructional Items. Once you are in the lesson, you will need to click on the pencil icon on the right-hand side of the screen to get into edit mode. Lesson title is where you will input the name of your lesson. Make sure the title of your lesson is clear, concise, and relevant to your content. In the lesson overview, you will provide a clear and concise summary of your lesson that will help fellow educators understand the key learning objectives and activities within your lesson at a glance. Your lesson overview should include important demographic information such as the grade level of your students, the EL proficiency levels of your students, your teaching location by county, and any other unique student considerations that may benefit other educators. Below that, you will find student learning goals and objectives. When creating your lesson, it is important to know the content and language goals that will guide your teaching. These goals serve as the foundation for what your students will learn. In this section of the lesson plan template, you will input the learning goals of your lesson. You will have to click the Add Objective to list both of your learning goals. If your lesson includes more than 2 content goals, you may want to consider creating multiple lessons. On the left-hand side, you will find the lesson information. This section is where you start building your lesson plan. You will need to click on the blue Edit button to fill out the following details. General information will include the duration of your lesson. If your lesson is longer than 60 minutes, you may want to consider breaking the lesson down into multiple lessons. Keywords is how you will make sure your lesson is searchable and should include the standards you are covering and any major topics. Next, you will select a grade level. Most lessons are written for one grade level. However, if the standard or standards you will be covering are banded for a grade span, feel free to select all relevant grade levels. Next, you will input the academic subject area of your lesson. This should also coordinate with the standards you are selecting. Please note, we ask that you do not choose English language development as your subject unless this is an ELD lesson. Finally, the license information, where we recommend you choose the last option, credit the creator, no commercial use, share alike. Be sure to click the blue Save button at the bottom. Next, you will be selecting your standards. To select standards, click on the blue Edit button next to Standards. In this section, you will choose both your content standards and your ELD standards. Please remember that this is not an exhaustive list of standards, and they should be reflected in your learning goals and assessment. Be sure to click the blue Save button after you have selected your standards. The next section that you'll notice is the English Language Development Scaffolds. Here, you should list the ELD scaffolds found in your lesson. These are strategies and tools that help provide students with the appropriate support they may need to understand and engage with the lesson. Please list the scaffolds by mode of communication: collaborative, interpretive, and productive. This is just a list of the scaffolds found in the lesson. Be sure to check out our scaffolding guide for more information. Below that, you will find the Universal Design for Learning Guidelines. In this section, you will list the UDL guidelines that are found in your lesson. The list should be organized by guideline: engagement, representation, and action and expression. While it is ideal to address all 3 guidelines in your lesson based on the needs of your students, addressing at least one guideline is required. Now you're ready to begin drafting your lesson. Look at the lesson segment section. The lesson segments are the heart of your lesson plan. These sections are critical to organizing your lesson in a clear and logical way to ensure a smooth flow of learning. The template includes 4 predefined lesson activity boxes, but feel free to add or remove boxes as needed to best suit your lesson structure. It is important that you strategize how you will divide your instructional content into manageable sections for your students. Activity 1 is the first segment of your lesson. You will provide a meaningful title for the activity and specify the estimated duration of the lesson activity. Specify the type of activity that aligns with your teaching approach using the drop-down menu. In the Teacher Moves box, provide explicit and detailed instructions of the actions and strategies used during this activity. Elaborate on how you will provide guidance and support to students as they participate in the activity. Explain how you will check for understanding using formative assessment tools throughout the activity. Under Student Expectations, list the student outcomes during the activity to provide thorough understanding of the roles and responsibilities students are expected to fulfill throughout this particular lesson activity. As you outline your lesson, be sure to integrate ELD scaffolds and strategies for UDL within each lesson activity to remove barriers for learning. You will need to follow this process for each activity you incorporate into your lesson. In the final section of our lesson plan template, you will select your assessment type, formative or summative, and you will describe your assessment in detail. Use the checklist to specify the assessment delivery methods implemented in your lesson. Make sure your assessments align with learning goals, offer multiple options for students to showcase their learning, incorporate ELD supports, and encourage self-assessment for a powerful learning experience. As an educator, having the right resources and materials available is essential to delivering a successful lesson. In this section, you'll be listing the resources and classroom materials needed to execute this lesson effectively. Click on the Add Additional Component button and select Resources and Materials. You'll want to move this up to the top of your lesson by clicking the arrow on the left-hand side. You'll click once to move it above assessment and once more to move it above the lesson segments. You should list everything from text and writing tools to digital resources such as slide presentations and specific equipment for hands-on activities. Remember to always use free and open resources. And if you're using digital resources, make sure they're accessible with the correct sharing permissions. Please respect copyright laws and always give proper credit when required. Be sure to add resources so they live on the platform. You can do that by clicking Add Resource, Add New Resource, and choosing whether you will upload a file or link a Google document, video, or other website. Be sure to click the blue Save button when you are finished. You will then need to select the new resource by clicking on it and selecting the blue Select button. By designing your lesson using the California Educators Together lesson tool, you're taking a step towards creating an impactful and inclusive lesson that will be used to inspire teachers across the state. If at any time in completing your lessons you need support, Please feel free to reach out to our team or attend our office hours. We are here to help you be successful. Happy lesson planning!